Hey guys, for today's video, we're going to be toning down this blondie and blending in some color with her natural roots. So we're going to be foiling a few packets and creating some depth, but we're also going to highlight around her face to keep her bright right where it counts. So keep watching to see how we tackled this service. You can follow me on Instagram at Christy@thecottage.
Hey guys, first things first, there's something that I have to get out of the way. So I'm totally like one of those girls that's when it's summer, I want it to be summer until it's like September 1st. It is not, summer is not over. And I know technically it's not over until like, the middle of summer or whatever, or September. But we're still in summer right now. It's towards the end of August. And I have to show you the sweatshirt that I got because Edward Scissorhands. If you haven't watched this movie because you're young and you're not old like I am, then go watch it. It is literally like the best movie. And look at the sweatshirt. Hot topic. I'm so excited about this and I might be regretting my life decision for wearing this today in the middle of August, but I feel like it's kind of cooler out today, so I'm kind of hoping like I'm not going to be hating myself for wearing a sweatshirt. But anyways, I'm super excited about it. Look how cute he is. Hi, little Edward. Anyways, let's get into the service that we're doing today. So my client is expecting and she kind of wants to not really color her hair while has a baby or kind of wants a lower maintenance look or whatever. So last time we did her hair, and I'll link the video in the description, we toned down her blonde, and actually she came in today and her blonde actually looks really blended still. She doesn't have like a heavy line of demarcation. She's definitely very rooty, and previous to adding dimension back into her hair, she was really blonde. So she is very solid through the ends, but it blends really nicely still through like the line of demarcation area. So I'm happy about that. I asked her today, does she want to brighten the roots up or whatever? But I think it's more like when she pulls her hair back, she just feels so dark. So we're going to go through and do some foils like right in the hairline right here. Because we're not trying to brighten this up necessarily a whole bunch. We want to make sure it stays blended and so that she doesn't feel like she has to come in after she has the baby. So what I'm gonna do is do her foils around her hairline, and then directly behind these foils that I'm doing, I'm just gonna do like 2 foils kind of underneath where she parts her hair, just kind of diagonally back. That way it just kind of blends into this area a little bit better versus just having like, a money piece and then nothing. So I'm gonna be using my Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex. I think we're probably going to trim her hair pretty good because she says it feels pretty dry. And then I'm also going to go through just to help blend that line out a little bit more while she's processing. We're going to go through and just swipe kind of like a natural tone through the rest of her hair just to like break it up a little bit more. So that is the service we're going to do today. And Edward is going to be joining us. My boyfriend for the day. Okay, bye.
All right, here's my favorite Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume. And I know some people have talked about like swelling problems, and I just spray mine down with water a little bit and that kind of eliminates that issue. But here's my client's before, a good few inches of grow out, but still the blend is pretty good. Like in person, it was really hard to see, but we're just gonna blend it out a little bit more, and we're gonna start with just a few foils around her hairline. Oh my God, the silence is killing me, you guys. If you've been following me along this week, then you know that my videos are getting demonetized with the music that I'm using. And so that's why it's so quiet. It's giving me anxiety. And please don't stop watching my videos because I'm trying to figure it out still. All right, so for her hairline, we're just going to be doing a few little fine baby lights. I just kind of take a little slice right off of the front of her hairline, just back a little bit. That way it blends really nicely. And I like to do my foils this way. That way it's as if the sun were to naturally highlight her hair. If you've watched my videos a bit before, then you've heard me repeat this a million times. But if you're new, this is how a lot of my clients prefer their foils. It just has a much more subtle grow out, and there's not any harsh lines of demarcation or anything. So because we're just doing some blonde around the face and not really anywhere else, and I want it to blend pretty good, normally when I do foils like this on the hairline, I usually just do 2 or 3, but I'm gonna throw an extra one in there just to give it a little bit more brightness, because we're toning everything down. She normally likes to stay really, really bright blonde. I mean, her blonde has toned down quite a bit, but before she was like almost solid, very, very heavily foiled with extremely minimal like little strands of dimension. So for how bright she likes to be, I want to make sure that she's still comfortable with her hair and has a lot of brightness around her face, because she says like when she pulls her hair back, she just sees a whole bunch of dark. So I want to make sure that she feels nice and bright, especially with her job and pulling her hair back and everything, that even though her hair is still really rooty, that she still feels like she has a lot of blonde right where it counts. All right, and for the top of her hairline right here, I'm kind of doing some V sections. That's because just of how her hairline is. If she had more of a straight across forehead, then I'd probably go straight down the center of her forehead. But just to make sure that I have nice coverage, I'm gonna do two foils that will meet in the center. I don't want to do just one straight across the center and then have kind of two dark areas on either side of her forehead at the sides, because the foils don't match and meet with the side foils that we did. So always changing your foil placement depending on your client's hairline. Make sure you always do that to make sure that you have good coverage. So we're just going to throw a few of these foils in, and I'm kind of doing a heavier weave. I'm not really doing a fine baby light or anything. I know some people like to use the term baby light for everything, but this really is just a standard weave. So I'm just going to do a few of these foils here, kind of back, and then we will flip to the other side and repeat the same thing. In this section right here, I'm basically doing a very deep, like, little triangle section, and I'm going to weave it and then back comb it, and that's going to help just create a little bit softer of a blend. Those hairs that I'm over directing and pulling forward, when everything lays down more naturally, it will just kind of softly like feather the blonde back to blend with the rest of the hair. I'm going to back comb it pretty heavily and then feather and paint into it. And that's just going to kind of create where like her money piece that we did is pretty tight up to the scalp. And then I don't want it to be just like a big chunk of blonde money piece and then like that's it with like her roots and everything. So adding this little triangular section right here that kind of connects between the money piece foils is going to help create like a softer transition into the darker rooted area. All right, in this section right here, we're just going to do a few foils diagonally back underneath the part. And this is just going to help create more of a blend. We're kind of extending the blend that we just did, that triangular section. And we're going to do these foils. You could back comb them if you want to, but because these are falling underneath the hair, I don't feel the need to have to do that. So we're just going to do these two little foils directly underneath where she parts the hair. We're just going to do a standard weave, and then this is going to help blend back with the blonde, so that way again she doesn't just have a whole bunch of blonde directly on her hairline and then all this dark. This is just going to add a little bit of softer brighter dimension through the hair without giving her any grow out, but she's still going to have a few little peekaboos of highlights, but in the end it will just soften it a little bit more, but it's not going to grow out harsh at all. And now we're back on the other side, doing a weave to match the other side that we just did a weave. And then when we're done with these little sections, we're going to start going through and adding our dimension. And scene. You guys, I'm panicking that there's no music, but you guys, if you follow me on my YouTube stories, which it's still probably there, or my Instagram, I cannot have music. And so I'm like panicking that there's no music, but like the reality is you guys don't care because I took a poll and nobody cares about the music. But I'm freaking out because there's no music and I'm afraid you guys are going to leave because you're bored. So now I have to fill the space with a whole bunch of bullshit like things, so that it's just not empty space of nothing. Anyways, you know me, I'm an anxious hairstylist, but I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys hanging around, and all of your comments telling me that you don't care about music makes me feel really good about myself. It makes me feel better that I don't have to worry about it, except for I will worry about it because that's what I do. I am a worrier. So please continue watching and don't click off the video. You mean so much to me. Okay, bye.
Okay, hi, it's me and my boyfriend again, and we're just back here going to mix. So normally, the dumb ass that I am, I'll always think I need to add a little bit of ash to my formulation because I don't want it to, be too warm or anything. And then guess what happens? I'm panicking because I added a little hint of ash and now it's grabbing maybe very ashy and I'm frantic. I'm going to make a smart decision today and I'm just going to go with a straight 7, just natural. I'm not going to add anything to it. Just thank the Lord that I have it in here and we're going to just do that. So I'm going to go through with my Agora Vibrance, just straight 7. This is pretty close to her natural. So that's it. Simple as that. I already just finished doing like around her hairline right here. I did kind of go a little bit back, like one little back here. I pulled it forward, weaved it back, combed it, so that will kind of create a softer blend. And then did a few in the back, or like staggering. So now we're just going to go through and run this kind of through. Just throw a few foils in here. Call it good. Like, how simple, okay?
All right, we're going to go through with our 7-0 from Agora Vibrance. 6 volume, and just throw a few foils diagonally back. That way it will help it blend a little bit better. So it's meeting up at the center where she parts her hair. And I'm actually not going to paint where her roots are. I'm just gonna go where the blonde is, and I'm gonna feather up into her roots so that everything blends really nicely. And honestly, a level 7 is probably a shade or half a shade darker than what her hair naturally is. But if I use just a level 8, then I don't feel like it would have held on or made much of a difference. So I feel like kind of going half a shade or a shade darker will hold a little bit better, especially because the color is going to fade out because of the blonde hair. I didn't want to fill her hair or anything like that because ultimately she's a blonde. She wants to be a blonde. I just feel like for this moment in time, she wants to kind of tone her hair down with, where she's at in life. But probably, in a year or two, she might want to go back like super bright again. So I feel like in circumstances like this, it's okay if the color we're putting in fades out because we're just trying to blend everything, not get rid of the blonde. And so I feel like this is just the perfect way to go about it. I mean, if she was somebody that was like, I never want to be blonde again, then obviously we go through the filling process and whatever. But I feel like that's just not needed right now. I want this to kind of softly fade out over time and blend with the rest of her hair still. And I feel like going just a little bit darker than what her natural is will help achieve that. So that's why we're going to just feather up into her natural roots so that everything still blends nicely. So, really, just going through and doing maybe 3 weaves on either side. If somebody just wants to blend their hair, I feel like you don't have to go in too heavy handed, especially remember she's used to being blonde. So, even when somebody says that they want to tone down their hair, I feel like that does not mean they want to feel darker. They still want to keep the appearance of being blonde and having that brightness there and that blonde color. They just want to soften it a little bit more and minimize it and just adding a little bit of dimension and a little bit more of their natural so that way they can go a little bit longer in between and blend with their natural roots and everything. But I feel like they still want to be considered a blonde and have their blonde hair, so be really cautious when you have a client that's normally blonde that comes in and say they want to tone down their hair or go darker or add their natural. Make sure you ask them, do you see yourself going back to blonde within the next year? Because I don't want to add permanent or tone you down completely, and then in 6 months from now you wish that you were blonde again, or when summer comes back around you want to be brighter again. Like, do not commit to like a permanent all over dark color or whatever if the client knows that they're going to want to go blonde again, because I always try to plan for the future and make sure that we're not going to create any damage, especially dealing with blonde. And warmth, got to remember that whenever we lighten the hair up again, because there's this artificial color, it's going to create warmth in the hair and potentially cause brassiness, especially if somebody has really dark hair that they're trying to cover up and then they eventually want to go blonde again. You're going to have to try to break through that color that you're putting back in the hair, and then that could potentially create brassiness, for when they want to go blonde again. And they might not be able to have like a really nice bright blonde. It might be more like a brassy blonde. So always make sure you're talking to your clients about their future plans for their hair, or 6 months down the road, or do you ever see yourself wanting to be blonde again, or do you see yourself going dark and staying here for a very long time? Like, that will decide what we're going to do for the service. So because she's always been a blonde, going in really lightly and not too heavy handed is the right decision for her for this service. All right, so we're just going to throw a few foils in this back area. And I was running out of color and I did not want to mix for like 2 more foils. So that's why you're going to see me kind of combine these 2 little sections here because I did not mix enough. And sometimes you're a hit and sometimes you're a miss. And today was a miss. If I had like a whole bunch more of a section that I had to do, then I would have remixed or whatever. But that wasn't the case. We made it work and everything worked out fine. All right, and here's everything that we did, and she's just gonna sit for probably like 25 minutes more.
Okay, so I'm getting ready to tone my client, and I asked her if she wants to tone down the blonde to like blend a little bit better and not be so bright and kind of blend more with her natural. And but she wants us to keep it a little bit brighter still. So I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna tone with 10V. I'm not gonna do it too ashy or anything. And that's it. It's that simple. So this will probably sit for probably like 10 minutes. And I'm going to pull out the front hairline pieces and tone those last so that way it stays nice and bright. The hairline pieces can tend to grow. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't even know. The hairline pieces tend to grab a little bit darker because they're so porous. So leaving those out for like the first few minutes, like maybe 7 minutes, the last few minutes, then tone it down with the rest of the hair because you don't want it to grab too much, then have like a really violet hairline piece or have it grab a little bit darker. So that's what we're going to mix right now.
Have you ever seen me tone with just one color? This is a first. This literally never happens. But hey, we're keeping it nice and simple today. So 10V is what we will be toning with. So we're just going to pull these foils out and then rinse her hair. And then you'll see in this next little video how I just kind of pull the front little hairline pieces aside and just kind of pull them. Like I rinse all of her hair out, wash it out. And then after she's washed, you'll see right here, I just kind of section all the way down to the ears so that the temple hair area doesn't grab too dark either, because that hair is just so fine. It will really absorb and suck in that toner and go a little bit too dark. So anyway, so look at her hair right here. Look at how really pretty and soft and natural those hairline foils are. Everything blends really nicely. I feel like even though we went and did a little bit heavier foils around the hairline, it still is really soft and subtle. You know, it's not super streaky or anything, and that's kind of the benefit of foiling that way, is that it just looks really natural. There's no heavy lines in the hair or anything like that. So we're just going to continue blow drying, and I like for you guys to be able to see what the color looks like straight. So I'm just going to show that to you right now, how everything blends, how the natural color looks really good and blends with her hair. So we're just going to finish up and style her hair really quickly. And here you can see those underneath foils that we did that were kind of diagonal underneath where she parts her hair. That's exactly what I was hoping for, where she doesn't have just the brightness right at the hairline. You can kind of see it staggering underneath her hair. So that brightness is kind of there still, but it's more underneath and not too like apparent where she's going to feel like she has grow out or anything in a few weeks, because the blonde is too close up top to her roots or anything. Everything kind of falls underneath, so everything is going to grow out really nicely. So here's her hair after it's styled. Blends really nicely, added that depth and dimension through the rest of her hair, but she still has a lot of blonde. So here's her before again. It blended really nicely, but still we're just going to add a little bit more dimension through her hair just to kind of help it blend a little bit more and soften that grow out look. And here's the after, nice and bright around the face. I really love that dimension that we put in there. You can see from that triangle section that we did right at the top of the money piece, that really just helped blend the money piece area at the top without making it too chunky or anything. It just softened it up nicely. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Hopefully it wasn't too awkward. Was it awkward for you? What as it was for me? Okay, good. Thank you for staying and watching it though. Anyways, I love you. Thank you guys really honestly for watching. It really means a lot to me. And here's the front of her face. Somebody was asking about showing more of like the money piece area. And I sometimes do or don't depending on if the client wants to be on camera with their face or not, but I don't think she really cares. So thank you guys again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.